What's up everyone, this is Scher talking and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be giving a review to Ultra Deluxe Hilda Banner. We have Hilda, I'll Watch Your Back, and Katarina, Pride Regained. There's also Leonid and Evelyn, but they are platinum units and will be added later to the pool. We need to talk about Katarina and Hilda since they were buffed and they are way better than they were in JP. Starting with Katarina, there are plenty of different styles for her, totalizing 6 different SS styles. 2 of them are platinum. The first one, leave this to me, and the real reason, the second one. Then there is a New Year's one, there was this for Anniversary, then there was a Global X version, and now we have Pride Regained. This A style was also limited, so plenty of her inheritance options are limited. But let me tell you, she kinda does not need inheritance, she already comes with good skills. Comparing the status for the other versions of Katarina, she gets the max value in all of them. Pride Regained has higher STR, higher endurance, higher dexterity, higher agility than all her other versions. The only thing that she loses is on will, and that is because this version of her has 80%. That was pretty high. The other values are average. So there are interesting things to say. She has bonuses for STR and dexterity. I believe that they gave her such a high dexterity bonus because she has some relation with Hilda. Hilda is a Pierce character, and she uses Pierce. Katarina inherits a great sword in the original story of Romancing Saga 3 that becomes a Pierce, so that's why she has such a high dexterity. It's not a bad problem at all, but she just had such a high agility that would benefit from having a bonus on that instead of dexterity. But some enemies have such a high agility that they can evade, and having higher dexterity is not a problem. As for passives, the first one is Breath of Invigoration 1, giving her a heal effect of around 150 and +1 BP every time that she attacks. This is very useful and is the same passive that they gave to the latest version of Nadar. The second passive is Soul of Greatsword. When she attacks with Greatsword, she gets 15% increase in damage and will reduce incoming damage by 10%. High Battle Tension gives 20%, 1 more BP on start of fight, and that totalizes 35% increase in damage, starting with 11 BP, recovering HP and BP when attacks, and 10% less received damage. That is a good kit, not the highest one for damage, but kinda good because of the BP recover. Then we have skills Moon Slash. This one is an AoE attack with slash damage, deep power, and 10 modifier. This skill is not new, it is the same as you see with Duel, as you see it here. I wish it was double element, but because Nora already had, they didn't want to change. It at least helped her reach a full AoE setup. And when she attacks this, she gets 1 more BP, meaning that she can always use AoE if she wants, but only slash. Then we have Alarm. The skill here is her selling point and also becomes so much better than JP because of how they designed her for global. Alarm is a weak attack that starts with E power 8 modifier, and when she attacks, she will just attack again with Moulin Rouge. This is a great sword attack, S power, and it's not a new skill. Actually, she learns that with her New Year style. Moulin Rouge has 36 modifier, pretty close or similar to Madeline Luna Fulgor, but she attacks 2 times with S power. That is not the case with her. She attacks with a very weak attack and then uses Moulin Rouge. The combination of this is still pretty powerful, bringing her to triple S damage with just 7 VP. If you are using the double S weapons that we have right now, the damage will be very good. And remember, we got Saruin that could use 5 VP to attack with S power. She gets an S power from free and E attack. What is the thing that matters here? When she uses Alarm, she will trigger her Breath of Invigorations 2 times, recovering 2 BP that she spent. So effectively, this is only 5 BP. With 5 BP, this is the strongest attack that you have in the game right now. Saruin can beat her if he triggers his passive, but without him triggering his passive, Katarina has the strongest 5 BP attack in the game. And then we can also just use this 3 times in a row now because of starting with 11. And for plenty of strategies this will work well. Let's say that you want to do raids and you just want to do damage in 3 turns, that will be enough. There is a problem because after 3 uses of Alarm, she will just stuck into Moon Flash since you get 4 BP and she would just keep using this forever. On Minnow for boss fight, it's a very powerful attack, but some other characters that self-stack their buffs will do more damage than Katarina, even with Alarm. But they would take more turns to reach max potential, while Katarina starts with good damage right from the start. It depends on what you want, actually. So competition for Katarina is Madeline and Saruin was for the recent characters, but there's another character that will also be a competition, and that is Urpina. Urpina has an UDX style that has Crossbreak, one of the strongest attacks for the coast. Crossbreak costs 8 BP, but it starts with double S powered 50 modifier instead of 36. And she also can inherit something that will skip a turn but recovers BP so that she can keep after 2 turns. So this attack is very powerful and is a competition for that Katarina. Because both characters do not self-stack, they are very powerful on the start of their fights, but they lose to self-stacking characters after the passage of turns. But Urpina is also pretty similar. If you have this Urpina, you're not missing too much by skipping this Katarina if you also have her Christmas style. Because the Christmas style starts with 13 BP and gets 2 usages of Crossbreak, one after another. So in 3 turns, they will do similar damage output because of this. Another character that is a very good competition is Final Emperor. Emperor has a very good skill number 2, that is Double Sun Slash. Of course, it's 2 hits of D power. It's less power, but he does have 40% passives, and his cycle is infinite. You can just get Double Sun Slash to 6, Sun Flash to 5, and he will just keep using Double Sun Slash. I used him many times in raid, but she still wins in 3 turns. Alarm is very powerful, a very good skill that we have right now, but it's only Slash. Then we have Severing Slit. It's a slash and cold attack with B power 25 modifier, and it's good because you can use on start, but B power is not so high anymore. Sometimes you can clear raids with Joe, and Katarina has 35% increase in damage. It may not be enough. Her STR is high, but not the highest one, since we are getting characters that can reach as much as 110% multipliers. But at least allows her to just use Severing Slit on the start and then just keep using Moon Slash. You see that she has a single target and an AoE build, so very complete as a character that can just work for different scenarios. She works for farming, she works for boss fight, she works for raids, although she's a little more restricted to performing those actions for 3 turns if you want her to use Alarm. Well, now, boss fights she still performs well, but we'll lose to. Well, as for inheritance, you can inherit the attack called Scatter Petals. This is the same one that Gray uses, and it's a pretty powerful slashing cold attack, but that's only if you are needing of cold damage. The recent Katarina will do more damage than this one, and if you want to cycle every 3 turns, you can, since you get 4 BP. But for all other usages, the older skills of this Katarina are way better than the past ones. I do believe that this Katarina is powerful. She's a character that will work pretty well for the future content. I do believe that she still has some competition, even though she will win against them. Her AoE potential is not that high, and she will not be the best one for boss fights, even though she works pretty fine. I believe she deserves a double S grade. Pretty powerful character, especially for newcomers that don't need inheritance to make it work. Sadly, she does not have any way to buff herself for status. I would much prefer a +1 BP and a STR buff than a regen. That will give her much more potential. But Alarm is just a very good attack that you can pass on into her future style that will double buff STR. Here we have it on JP. She has 109% STR, that's pretty massive. She also has pretty high intelligence because she's a debuffer. But going to the most important thing, she does have a better AoE attack that's called Froze, that does both slash and cold, a very powerful triple S nuke that debuffs, and self-buffing. She has one that triggers on the start that gives her STR and agility, and intensified fighting spirit. Every time that she hits, she just gets an STR and intelligence buff. So if you use Alarm, she will trigger this buff 2 times, meaning that then you'll be much stronger. This version only gets 1 BP by a turn, so it's not like the other one that gets 2 BP by attacking twice. So at least there's this comparison, but I do believe that this one still does more damage over time than the one that we have right now. Okay, so there's only 1 damage passive, but it's 30% against 35. Not much of a difference. Returning, yeah, Katarina is good, gets a much better version in the future that inherits Alarm to make it even better for you. But that version is pretty far from now, and it should be available in like 10 months. And we have Hilda, a Watch Your Back. She's a hyper user with both slash and pierce damage. Well, her status are pretty well distributed. She's more geared towards resisting magical damage instead of physical. As you can see, 97 will and only 46 endurance. Her dexterity is pretty massive with 101%, agility on 99, that's also insanely high, competing against Mikhail. Her intelligence does not matter, her love does not matter, and her charisma is pretty high. Well, let's click on her, and she has bonuses for dexterity and will. Yeah, her will is already pretty high. I would much prefer bonuses for agility instead, but it is what it is. Then we have the passives. The first one, Reflexes 2, gives her, on the start of a turn, 25% chance to get into an evasion stance. That negates all types of damage. This is similar passive to what we have with Leonid and Global X Rock, okay? And then after that she gets 2 BP. 25% chance to get 2 BP may not be so important, but it gets her into some very interesting cycles when it triggers. But they didn't want to give her a heal, and it does make sense for one of her builds. More into that later. Well, we have Weak Tension that gives her 15% increase in damage and 10% more when attacking weak targets. Because she has 2 specialties, Slash and Pierce, this will happen more often than not. Then for the 5 gives her 20% increase in damage. What we have here with this character is 35% all times and 45% when hitting weak targets, plus an evasion stance chance and 2 more BP on the same passive. Well, for skills we have EP Blade. This one is just like a normal attack, but instead it has Pierce and Slash and gives her a dexterity buff with small effects. It's very similar to what we have with Minerva, with Nadar. It's pretty good because you can just attack 2 weaknesses and just buff yourself. You will be also activating Weak Tension. Then the second one is Alarm. Yeah, the same Alarm that we have with Katarina that we just saw. The same attack, the same follow-up, and same modifier. She does more damage because she has actually up to 45% passive instead of just 35. But since Hilda does not have the same passive as Katarina, she's always using 7 BP to use Alarm. And you may have luck and get Reflexes to trigger, but there's only 1 chance. It's not like Katarina that triggers twice when attacking. Okay, so the last one is Molunkalarte. This one is a 10 BP skill that also uses 1 LP. There's a reason for this. It's a Pierce and Slash attack with SS Power 53 modifier. I wish they had both at the skill because they did something for Brownie, and this is pretty similar to Brownie. This is fast, so fast attack, Pierce and Slash, and use LP. This version of Brownie has a 8 PP skill instead of 10 that also uses 1 LP. This one is not fast, but it has triple S power, and it enters an evasion stance that negates all damage in that turn. That is the same case with Hilda. She negates all types of damage on that turn, but because it's 10 BP, it's not so easy to use unless you are triggering Reflexes a lot. And you will not be using this too much. This is more for farming. If you want to farm, you can open with Molunkalarte and then go for EP Blade, and then after that you can inherit something. That inheritance is where Hilda shines. Let's click on her SS style already, and you have Light Speed Plus. This is a very powerful skill. You will know I have been using this a lot because right now bosses are just removing their debuffs, so you have to stack buffs yourself. And Light Speed is B power with only 4 BP cost. In her version it already comes amplified, so you don't even need to use amplified badges. And buff your agility by 25%. 4 BP by 25% buff and B damage is amazing, and she can use this plenty of times. I am using Xenon, and Xenon is a very powerful character. He starts with 12 BP, and so that's why he can use Light Speed Plus so well by inheritance as well. And his skills are most above 10 BP so that he can just use Lightspeed Plus if he wants. He can even ignore the first skill. This is not something that happened with her. It also happens with another very powerful character that is Global X Mikhail, but Global X Mikhail needs inheritance from another style. He can increase Stinger to 11, leave Quadruple Pierce on 12, and then inherit from this version that it's a Ward Mikhail that was limited. He gets Lightspeed Plus from here, and he can just use Lightspeed Plus forever on auto. This is very useful for scenarios where you want to farm raid and do more damage. This is not something that will happen with Hilda. There is a problem with her cycle because of Alarm getting in the way. So she would just use Alarm first, and then after Alarm, if you are running on auto, she can even trigger reflexes, and by triggering reflexes, she will have to use Alarm again. And then after that, she cycles between a P-Blade that buffs her dexterity into Lightspeed Plus. It's a good cycle, but if you're using her on boss fights, I prefer to play on manual with Lightspeed Plus. But if you're using her for raids, it's good because she starts well with high damage, but then she may just not get enough agility before she dies, unlike Xeno, unlike Mikhail. But still a pretty good, different build. You can just go for Slash with Alarm, or you can just go for Pierce with Lightspeed Plus. And if you want to nuke, you have Mulan Clarté that deals both Slash and Pierce and will work for any of her builds. The problem is just that I feel this could be better. It could be a triple S damage attack. It's not so powerful when you compare with so many other options that we have right now, like Acupuncture Plus, like Multi-Trust, like the many Slash attackers we have. But because this one is more used for farming, I understand why it's like that. But if you want to save VP, you will be using Lightspeed Plus and then only using Mulan Clarté in Overdrive. But the bad part's that she cannot just use Lightspeed Plus all the time on auto. Sword Ballet will get an amplifier in the future that reduces it to 8 PP and reaches V power, but in her case it's only for turn 1 and turn 3, and she's not exactly the best AoE Pierce attacker that we have. So I do believe that Hilda is nice. I like the way she operates. I like her such a high agility. I like that she's a dex-based character that does slash damage, just like Rofus. But Rofus is kinda using blunt, sometimes using slash, and he just does pretty high damage on turn 1 and then does not do anything else for the next 2 turns. So I think Hilda has a special place in many different formations. She does not have much competition for doing Slash on Pierce, and because Deadly Pierce X is such a good formation for even boss fights sometimes, it will be easy to slot her, unlike Katarina that will have competition with so many other Slash attackers. If you want to use Alarm just for damage, it will do good damage, and the only problem is that she cannot use Alarm twice in a row, while Katarina can use it 3 times in a row. But I can see future potential in Hilda because of Lightspeed Plus. But it depends. If you have Mikhail or if you have Xeno already, you don't really need more than 2 Lightspeed users. I believe that 2 is a good value already. And going for Hilda without using her for the specific scenarios is kind of overkill. And for Slash, Katarina is better, but Hilda still has 2 different elements. I believe that this gives her an edge, but they are pretty close in regards to value. Both have similar value. Hilda also gets a new style in Japan, but it's just so far. It's just like 1 year from now. This is the style, and she has higher status, and she can also heal with Nurse Heal. She has a heal plus cleanse effect, and some other AoE options, and 1 different nuke. This one is better because it goes for between 3 to 4 hits, and it also has double element. This may be different in global. By the time she reaches here, they will probably buff her too. But if you are missing more slash damage, you can go for Katarina, or you can go for Pierce if you need more Pierce with Hilda. Both characters are still easy to skip, in my opinion, because what they offer, it can also be found in different units, and different units that got released recently or got rerun recently. So this decreases a little the value of the banner. That's it, but does not mean they are bad. Hilda also deserves a double S grade. Well, time to talk about Leonid. We have 5 different versions of Leonid right now. Only the first one is Platinum, the second one is Limited, and this Platinum now can beat the Limited in many things. Well, he does have a higher STR than all other versions. Well, the endurance is not so different. The dexterity does not matter. The agility is pretty similar to the Limited one. His intelligence is lower, but he can debuff sometimes, but it's not the best one. Then his will is higher, and love, it's just so bad, with charisma being a little higher. Well, this Leonid here is Platinum. Again, I need to reinforce this. He has bonuses for STR and agility, with arrows for STR being the double arrows. That will help you when farming. The first passive is Vampire Link, and this one is the same one that he has with his Limited style. So you were not missing this, now you have it. And when he attacks, he has a 25% chance to heal himself and someone random from the party. It can even be himself 2 times. Yes, it happens. Then the second one is Rejuvenate, Agility and Endurance. He has a 25% chance to buff both status by 20. Well, they are pretty undecided about giving constant agility buff in this game because they know that we can evade many things, so that's why this is not so. Many characters now have 37% chance to buff status, and plenty of others have a guarantee, but because it's agility, it gets lower chance. Then Fired Up 5, his only passive, 20% increase in damage. For our skills, we have Black Pearl. This one is both blunt and shadow, and he hit 2 times. It's pretty interesting because, actually, even if your attack is only E, you are attacking 2 times. Remember when I said about Emperor, that Emperor has a double hit attack with E power? Now we are just reverting a little, reaching E power, and it hits 2 times with only 3, meaning that he can use this forever. This is not a bad skill at all. It's just that the character itself is not so interesting because of lacking better passives. But the skill itself can be ported into other versions of him. Then the second one is Punishing Fist. Yes, you know, the same attack that Red and Boston can have access to. And it's not bad, 6 BP for C power 16 modifier. At least he can use this 2 times in a row. Especially in Conquest, where you have events with 2 waves. And the last skill is Damnation, 10 DP for an AoE blunt and shadow attack, B damage, 24 modifier. This is not huge, and only 20% increase in damage. He will not be clearing waves unless the enemies are extremely weak. It debuffs their endurance by 30%. This is massive, but not so useful all the time. I can see you using this in situations where we have multiple enemies and you don't have anyone else like a buffer to fill in your squad, and you want to use Leonid to increase your damage, but then your whole squad needs to be physical, so they take advantage of this endurance debuff. I don't think it's so useful. And he also buffs his endurance by 40%. Well, he's not a tank, I don't know why, he does not even have arrows or bonuses for endurance, so it's kind of a waste. He does not clear waves, but the moment you need an AoE endurance, you can rely on Leonid, even if there are few cases where you need so. But for Cycles, this guy has 2 different things. He can open with Damnation, and then on turn 3 he can use Punishing Fist. You can even increase Black Pearl to 4 so that he does not use his single target attack ever. Only the normal attack between 2 turns. If you want him to do single target damage, you can inherit Niagara Buster if you do have this version of him, or in the future you will be able to amplify Caress and then open with Caress and then just stick to Black Pearl. I do believe that sticking to Black Pearl is his best way to do damage, because 2 hits with 3 BP cost is massive. The only problem is the damage, that it's a little limited with this version of him. And the only other thing that he has is Submission that will be amplifiable in the future, reaching as power damage, and it will do good damage. He's not a bad character, just has a lot of competition for full damage potential, but may work for some people lacking better options. And the last one is a Platinum style of Evelyn. Evelyn is a pretty good character. This is her limited style. That's pretty useful. She has this S1 for inheritance, and the new one to summon is this one. And she does not beat the limited one in anything besides charisma and endurance. Yes, those two styles. Well, let's open, and she does have actually okay status for a Platinum style, not so bad. Her ability, the first one is in Surge. When she lands a weak attack, she increases her own intelligence by 20%. And this will happen all the time. So she stacks well, especially for those that missed Evelyn in the first time. You can use her to buff intelligence and then inherit something like Psycho Noise or Horror or Soul Freeze. She has plenty of good inheritance just by this S style that's available in story mode. You can get this anytime. So higher intelligence, higher the chance for a debuff, higher the chance to inflict status ailments, and higher the chance to paralyze. Okay, so the second one is Hardy Wallop 4. Damage increases when she's on full HP by 20%. It's terrible, yeah, but it's Platinum styles, they still use Hardy Wallop for some of them. And then over 10 she gives her 30% at all times, 30% on combo, and 45% on overdrive. So 35% and most of the time while you are on full HP, but only 15% when you are not. But at least Intelligence Surge 3 will help you stack intelligence. Well, for spells we have Dark Ball, a 5 BP spell for shadow damage, D-Power 11 modifier, not so high for 5 BP, but it carries a chance to debuff Will. When you debuff Will, you increase your chances to debuff your enemy, to inflict status ailments, and also to increase your magical damage. But it's more used to increase your chance to debuff and also to inflict status ailments if the enemy is susceptible to them. And her second spell is Drain Life. This is very useful. B Power 22 modifier deals shadow damage and recovers HP. This is the same spell that you can find on UDX Death, the first one. So a very good spell to be found in a Platinum style. And if you are using her in a fight with enemies that do much damage, it will help her sustain. Then there is Vermilion Sense Plus. Yes, it comes amplified. This is a skill that Rouge uses, and only Rouge. Now she's the second one able to use this. It's A power and deals shadow damage. It has a chance to inflict darkness. Not that this is useful at all, but you can inherit Vermilion Sense Plus into her limited style. So, because she starts with 13, she will be able to use that on turn 1. And for some specific scenarios where you need to do high damage only on turn 1, it just increases her damage potential. So, Platinum Evelyn is actually a very useful Platinum style. Just like, well, Leonid. If you don't have some other characters that do better damage for premium styles, you can use them just fine, especially because of the inheritance options being free, and it gives even more value to the limited version of her. But you don't need to pursue this version now, you can get her in the future without spending gems just fine. She's not limited, she's permanent, and everyone will be able to get her with some luck. I do believe that she also deserves a high place in our tier list, being on the S tier. Now returning to the banner image, is this banner worth summoning for? Actually, not so much. Katarina and Hilda are pretty powerful characters for today, but I can already see how they can be outclassed, while I can see more value out of Saruin that has some very interesting skills that will be useful for plenty of time. Hilda will live more because of Light Speed Plus. Besides that, all the damage dealers that only do damage have much more competition than characters that offer more. Like, I was comparing to Saruin's banner because Saruin is very useful for farming, can be strong on boss fights as well, but he's unique. Nadart is a very good pierce damage dealer, so he competes with Hilda. And he carries an AoE will buff that can be used every 3 turns that will certainly help you in some difficult stages, like the current boss fight against Bertrand. He really helps there if you have it. So even though they are good now, I can see them being replaced in the near future. With that said, if you are lacking Slash and you want someone to be a Slash specialist, Katarina will help you. And if you want a Light Speed Plus user, Hilda is cheap. She does not need a premium inheritance. She will perform well, but besides that, you can skip this banner. As I always give an award in the end of all reviews I make, this one cannot be different. I got a little conflicted at first because I was not so sure about it being a bronze award or a silver award, but finally I decided it receives a silver award. Meaning that it's a good banner, not the best one. I still think it's easier to skip this one instead of Saruin's, but the value is here. It's not a bad banner at all, and if you are lacking what these characters can offer, it's not a bad pull. So if you are planning to summon, there's no clear answer which one is better than another. If you get one pretty fast, just drop the banner, be happy. But that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comments, are you planning to summon or not? I hope to see you soon in the live stream as soon as the game resets. Bye.